When I moved to Florida, I got my real estate license. My husband would say, what time are you waking up tomorrow? I said, I don't know, when God wakes me up. She starts working in immigration and law. So one day, she grabs me by the arms. She looks me right in the eye. She says, Mom, do you remember the entrepreneur in you when you were young? She goes, we need to open a firm and we need to do it right. We're going to take care of Canadians. We're not going to just do the paperwork. We're going to help them with everything else.
I quit the job on the Friday. As I was driving home, I'm like, if she comes or not, I'm doing it. Like, I can't have my soul die in that little corner. That's where it all started.
What's poppin', everybody? Nikki over here for another episode of What Would It Cost? And today I have the lovely guests, Rocki and Mena, sitting here ready to rock and roll and talk about everything in regards to not only immigration law when it comes to getting your butts down to Florida, but what's really interesting about this episode is they have a full ecosystem of professionals that they're ready to connect the dot for you with, and they've worked with them for a while now, and they know that they could do just as great as a job as they could do on the immigration side on whatever it is they have to do to get you down to Florida and make sure that that process is absolutely seamless. Some interesting things that I found speaking with them is for less than $300,000 you could change the trajectory of your life and be in Florida, in a home you own, buying a business, acquiring a business that you can now operate, and even having a little bit of a war chest and savings to get you through the time. So yeah, without further ado, Rocki and Mena.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there.
My name's Mena. This is my mom, Rocki. We're from Maimone Legal, former Boltonites from Bolton, Ontario, who made the moves ourselves down to sunny Fort Lauderdale. So thank you so much for having us here.
Okay, so Florida, you don't like coming back to Toronto?
Not
once
too
a year.
much.
Once a year, the last we spoke.
Once a year, yeah.
Once a year, you're done with it. You're over it. There's lots of things that are amazing going on in Florida that are happening for you now. Business is kicking butt. You guys are building relationships and carving out friendships down there, and you have a life down there now, right? So it doesn't have it being that you have to be back here too often, right?
We only come back for the people we like.
That's it. Okay, right on. So if they've come back to see you, they really like you. Yeah, so with that being said, there's so many Torontonians right now that want to move down to Florida. I think on a global scale, from what we were talking about even prior to the camera coming on, that there's a lot of awareness right now for Florida and a lot of people wanting to move there for many different reasons. But you guys have done it. You guys are there. 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. 7 years. You guys have been there. Planted there, not only living there, but doing business there. So I'm sure this is going to be a really interesting episode that the audience is going to be glued to and all ears for, because I think a lot of people want to make the move. So bring me through what that experience has been like for you and how it all started and where we are today and everything in between, because I think it's going to be inspiring, to say the least.
Well, this is a special story. Do you want to take it?
Sure. So it was a February blizzardy day. She's on reading week, university, and she comes into the living room and says, Mom, let's go somewhere for a few days. So long story short, we decide we're going to go to the Keys, and we rent a convertible in Miami. We fly down, we get in the car. We had no hotels booked. It was just a let's go kind of trip. And at the end of it, we had a fabulous time. I thought, okay, I'm going to buy a condo down there so we can visit more often. So start talking to some realtors. It was actually a Canadian friend of mine who was running a RE/MAX in Fort Lauderdale. And I come to find out how cheap real estate was compared to, GTA, right? So then my brain starts going a little more, and I'm like, well, maybe we should just buy a house. And I start looking at investment properties and return on investment, and I was floored. I did the math, and I said to my husband, we got to go. Like, what are we doing here?
We got to go.
We got to go. So that's kind of what started it. Started to investigate. Didn't know how to go, because growing up, it was always a green card.
Yeah, it seemed difficult.
Yeah, it's like impossible, right? So we're like, okay, well, other people have done it. Let's figure it out. Yeah. So started interviewing different lawyers.
This is before I was a lawyer, way before.
Right.
Okay.
And basically decided to go on an E2 visa. She took off before we did.
Yeah, I was like, see you later.
And ended up going to law school in Florida.
Yeah.
and always loved immigration because we went through it.
So what about how I got you out of retirement?
So when I moved to Florida, I got my real estate license. And, I was going to Pilates 3 times a week, waking up whenever God
She was
woke me
enjoying
up. It was a pretty good life,
Whenever God woke me up.
Yeah, it was like my husband would say, "What time are you waking up tomorrow?" I said, "I don't know, when God wakes me up."
Nice.
So she starts working in immigration and law, and she's like, "Mom, we need to open a firm."
Yeah.
And I said,
Okay.
"Mena, just go get a job, buddy. Like, just, leave me alone." So one day, she grabs me by the arms. She looks me right in the eyes. She says, "Mom, do you remember the entrepreneur in you when you were younger?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "We need to open a firm, and we need to do it right. We're going to take care of Canadians. We're not going to just do the paperwork. We're going to help them with everything else."
Okay.
And I'm like, "Okay, I get it."
Yeah.
And that's where it started.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Very
quit the
cool.
job on the Friday, and as I was driving, it was like an hour drive. As I was driving home, I'm like, if she comes or not, I'm doing it. Like, I
Nice.
can't have my soul die in that little corner of the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Wow.
where it all started.
Very
We
cool.
started in a little room, and we quickly expanded. Quickly, Once
Yeah.
people found out our story, the dynamic and the love we have, and they can feel that, right, when we speak to them. So from there, it just blew up once people knew that we had the same story.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And what brought out the entrepreneurial spirit in you?
Well, I watched this one over here my whole
Okay.
life.
Yeah.
She was a rock star. Like, she'd get up on stage in
Maybe
front of
she was.
Well, when I was a kid. He's
I'm just
asking when I was
kidding.
a kid.
Yeah, I get it.
She'd get on stage in front of 400 or 500 people. She used to bring me on stage. She always used to tell me, follow your dreams, do whatever you want, don't let anyone stop you.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in that. And at one point I told her, I don't want to be like you. I want to get a job. And she
Yeah.
goes, okay.
Yeah,
You'll figure it out.
Do what
okay.
makes you happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? She was right, damn it.
Yeah.
She was right.
Wow, check that out. Very cool.
Yeah.
So she's your superhero.
She's my superhero. We
Now
look
you guys
alike too.
Now you guys are rocking
We're
out
copies.
together. Yes, you do. You do. That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
And it's been 7 years now. So
7
this
years.
was 17 that you moved down there,
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long was it that you were working as a lawyer, and then now you having your own firm? What does that look
So
like?
I had about 2 years immigration experience before graduating.
Okay.
So I was working full time while studying. And then when I became an attorney, it's been about 1.5 years now that
Okay.
I've had gone on my own and had my own practice.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys are booming from the
We
few
are, in the short
conversations that
time
we've
that we've been
had,
around, yeah.
and Gonzalo now giving me feedback and me keeping my finger on the pulse with him. Like, you guys are having files fly in. You're 3 weeks ahead of.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get an appointment with you guys after the 3-week mark. Then you can pencil something in right now.
That's right.
And this is you helping people that want to immigrate to Florida specifically.
That's right.
So
and we
you
give
have-
people free calls, 20-minute calls, because we just
Okay.
want to hear their story, share
Okay.
some information with them, and then if they need more, then they go on in the process with us. But
So walk us through that process. So you'll do a 20-minute introduction discovery call, and then you'll move it on. And what does it look like from someone
Okay,
for
so-
start to finish?
yeah, so usually people find us on social media. They click our Calendly link.
Okay.
They book with us. They talk to a member of the team. It's about 20 minutes. We tell them what
Social
kind of
media, what's the handle?
Facebook usually.
So what's the group called?
Oh, what's our group called?
I don't know, you renamed it 3
Yeah.
times.
Okay. It's all good. I just shout out the audience.
I don't
we'll put the
remember.
tag.
Yeah,
no
okay.
worries. Yeah.
Canadians
Yeah.
immigrating,
Moving. I don't know what it
having
is.
a great time in
Yeah,
Florida
having a great
and
time,
the U.S.
getting drunk.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me take that from the start then. So usually they find us on Facebook. There's a number of groups that we're in, a couple groups that we own. They'll hear about us, even through other members. They'll talk about us like, oh, I worked with Mena, or I talked to Mena or Rocki, and they were great.
Yeah.
They'll book a Calendly. Through Calendly, they'll book a 20-minute call. They'll talk to a member of our team. And usually in those 20 minutes, they can feel, that we know what we're talking about and that we're ready to help them out. So usually they want to have a consultation with me. So they'll pay for a 1-hour consultation. I'll spend the hour. We'll go through everything together, the different visa options. We'll strategize. Okay, this is what that will look like. I'll even answer questions that aren't immigration related usually, just through my own experience and my knowledge of being down in Florida.
Got it.
And then after that, they usually say, all right, let's do it. And I
Okay.
send over a retainer and they become my client. We go from there. We basically hold their hand through the process.
And what does that process look like?
So it depends what kind of visa they're going on. So
Okay.
usually if someone has a really high level of education or a really impressive career, we can bring them down on a visa that will get them a green card.
Okay.
That's EB2 NIW.
Okay.
If they are an entrepreneur, not so much on the education side, maybe they just want to open a business. It can be a small business, it can be a big business, whatever they want to open, they could go on an E2.
Okay.
Now, E2 requires, at minimum, usually $80,000 to $100,000 investment. It's an investor visa. So they make the investment, their funds have to be at risk. So before they can apply for the visa, they actually have to spend the money. We send them for an interview at the consulate in Toronto, the U.S. consulate in Toronto, and we prepare them for that interview, and then they get approved or denied on the spot. Once they got that visa and their passport, they're good to go. They got 5 years until they have to renew.
Okay. Wow. Check that out. And
Yeah.
what does that look like timeline-wise?
Right now, it's about 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
Depending on how quickly the client moves, because sometimes people are ready to go right away. They already have a business they own down there, or they already got all their things in in order, or they have to come down, discover what they want to do. They're not too sure. We kind of help guide them with that as well, and it might take a little bit longer.
Okay.
On that side.
And then from when they touch down, what's that process look like?
You
3
mean-
years, you said?
What do you mean, like when
From when they move?
to renewal? Yeah, so they get a 5-year with the E2.
Yeah.
They get a 5-year visa.
Yeah.
And in that time, nobody checks up on you. During that time, your goal is to build your business.
Okay.
The end of the 5 years, you renew. You
Okay.
apply for renewal. You have to show that the business is still in existence and that you're generating revenue.
Right. Is there a minimum revenue?
There's no minimum. It's it's case by case usually.
Okay. And then how long will they extend for typically?
It's 2-year increments after that.
2 8-year increments. Okay. And then permanent status?
No, so there's immigrant and non-immigrant visas.
Yeah.
Non-immigrant means you're not getting a green card with that visa.
Okay.
But you can use it to stay, work, do your thing.
Okay.
And then there's immigrant visas, like the one I mentioned, EB2 NIW, for
Yeah.
high-level education. That leads to a green card, which is permanent
Okay.
residency.
And if the educational aspect isn't there, but it's
And you
still a
can-
high level
you
position?
can basically buy your green card. It's
Okay.
called EB5.
Okay.
So it's an $800,000 investment
Okay.
into what's called a regional center,
Okay.
or $1,050,000 investment called a direct investment, where you buy a business or create a business, and you have to generate 10 new U.S. jobs in either scenario.
In what time period?
Usually in about 6 months to a year.
You got to hire on 10 people
Right.
and have them on payroll
That's right.
and inject $1,050,000.
$1,050,000.
Okay.
Now, most people don't go that route because that's a lot of money to invest and spend in a business, right? Especially a startup.
Sure.
So most people go for the regional center option, an $800,000 investment. They call it an investment. I like to call it a loan, because you get your money back in 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
With minimal interest, depending on the project you pick. So the first step would be to contact us. We'll put you in contact with a broker who can show you the different projects. You would make a decision from there, and then we would file for you.
And what type of projects are those specifically?
Usually it's like a skyscraper or a big project that's going to create 10, remember, it's got to create 10 new U.S. jobs
Got it.
per person, per investor.
Yep.
So usually it's a large
Okay.
real estate
Yeah.
development or something like
Got
that.
it. And then the capital's locked up for
Right.
however long that project is
4 or
going to
5
take.
years usually.
And then you're giving your principal back with minimal interest.
That's right.
What does minimal interest look like?
Depends on the project.
Right now, 5-6%.
5-6%?
When I did it,
Guaranteed money and
I got
5-6%.
1%.
But yeah.
That's the route that I did
Okay.
after I did the E2.
Okay.
The
Right.
beauty
And
of
that's
that
an
right
E5.
now, EB5.
EB5.
The
Okay.
beauty of that right now is that you can do what's called adjustment of status, which means you can come to the U.S. in the meantime and stay. Well, we can apply for work and travel authorization for you.
Yeah.
And in 3 to 6 months, you can work and travel there.
Hmm.
Once your green card comes in, then you're a permanent resident.
Okay.
So you can be waiting in the United States for that to come in right now.
Like you could
Right.
literally pack up right now, Nick.
Mm.
Wife and kids in tow.
And just go.
And say, I'm
Come
done. I
down,
want to be a
Come
resident.
down as a visitor.
Yeah.
Once you're down there, you can stay up to 6 months.
Yeah.
And if you decide while you're there we want to stay, we do the paperwork for you. You remain 3 to 6 months. You and your wife would have open work permits, permission to travel.
Yeah.
You'd have legal status, and you're basically living there as if you had your green card while you're waiting for it to come in.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
And-
available to Canadians.
And what's that called? What's that product called?
It's
is
the EB5.
EB5.
with
it's
adjustment of
with
status.
adjustment of status.
Adjustment of status.
Yeah, it's
okay.
pretty cool.
You don't have
Yeah.
to do that. You can also wait in Canada
Yeah.
while it's processing.
Right.
But most people they want to do adjustment of status because
They're
they're
in a
ready to
hurry.
get on.
They're in a hurry
Yes.
to get to that good weather. Eh?
They're in a hurry. They don't want to have any
Enjoy
more
the
winter
beaches and the
weather.
sun.
Yeah.
The E2 is really cool too because your spouse gets an open work permit.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say you open Spark Financial Florida
Okay.
and you're the principal applicant on that E2.
Yeah.
Your wife immediately would get an open work permit day one.
Right.
She has no restrictions.
Hmm.
She can go work
Anywhere.
open a business, do whatever she wants because she's tied to you under the E2.
Wow. Very
So
cool.
it gives couples and families great opportunities
Kids
to
can
do.
go to school. There's
Yeah.
no issues really.
Yeah.
And now, okay, so now you guys are the first point of contact a lot of times for these clients, right? And we've had, again, conversation before the camera came on in regards to you being able to really help them navigate the whole process, right? So what does it look like to obtain real estate? Where? Right? Is it
Right.
Tampa? Is it Lauderdale? Is it Jupiter?
Right.
Where do they want to stay? They don't have an idea. You guys have a lot of information on
Right.
this.
Yeah.
How to obtain financing, taxation and cross-border taxation, how all that works. So tell me a little bit about how you incorporate that into your business, because I feel the audience will find it very interesting that you guys are kind of acting like a one-stop shop.
Right.
Not that you're taking on and charging for those services, but you're kind of just giving out and hooking them up with your ecosystem of professionals
Right.
that can help set them up. But you're also giving them advice that could lead to where it is they end up living for the rest of their lives, right? So
This-
how does that work? What can they lean on you for outside of just the immigration stuff?
This was the idea from the beginning.
Right.
And when we formed the firm, we wanted to make it easy for people to move down, not just the immigration side, not just filing the petition, but everything.
Got
So
it.
I think you can speak to the real estate.
Yeah, so we get calls. I want to leave Canada. I want to come to Florida. Never owned a business before. Don't know where I'm going. Don't know what I'm doing. Like, these are common calls. So we come on board. Then you tell me what you need. Well, I need to buy a business. Okay, where? Tampa, Texas. We have the ability to help them anywhere in the United States.
To
'cause
broker buying a business.
even to do their immigration, because immigration's federal. So if you're a Canadian and you want to move to New Jersey, we can help you with that too.
Okay, right on.
We're linked with a business brokerage that's probably the biggest in North America, connected with the CEO. I basically put a call into him and I say, I need a broker in New Jersey, this pocket, and he'll assign someone to us.
And that broker brings businesses to the table
Right.
with potential for the client to buy.
Right.
Okay.
A lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to do an E2. I want to find a business first. You're going
Yeah.
to have a really hard time doing that.
Okay.
A lot of these businesses never make it to the MLS. They're, before
Need
they're
someone to represent
Yeah,
you.
the brokers have their network. You're a broker, I'm a broker. Hey, Nick, I got a client. It gets done. So there's that. Then we have
And just to, I don't want to go too deep on that, but
Yeah.
what are some types of businesses that these people could look forward to buying? Could they name, is it sector and industry specific? So say I
No.
want something in the finance sector and the mortgage industry. Would there be
Yeah.
that kind of option, or is it just like whatever's floating around?
No, there's an option, and I'm glad you brought that up because on the internet, and a lot of brokers that we don't deal with are like, well, Nick, no, this is an E2 business. This has been pre-approved for E2.
Any business is an E2 business.
That does not exist. Okay, it doesn't matter what kind of business it is. It has to meet certain criteria. Okay. Sometimes there are brokers who specialize in certain types of businesses.
Okay.
And so if you're looking for an industry specific business, we can ask for that.
Okay.
And they can look to see, let's say you don't care. Maybe you want to go to Texas, maybe you want to go to Florida. We can connect you with the right person. And it's important because like when my personal experience, okay, when I left Canada, I had lawyer, accountant, like broker. I had everybody in place. I'd been dealing with them for decades. I get to Florida, I don't know anybody. Trying to find the right, I went to 3 or 4 accountants till we found the right one. So our personal vetting of these people is what our clients are going to be able to take advantage of.
Amazing.
Because You know,
You've built up a solid ecosystem where you're putting yourself in your client's shoes and you're saying, this is the type of service that I would like. These are the type of people that I need to be involved with and able to get this process, you know,
And
done
that's
and
what-
properly, right?
right, and that's
Yeah.
why we're here today.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we want to do something with Spark, obviously.
Yeah.
I know you can take care of our clients. Most of them are Canadian. You're set up and ready to go in Florida as well.
Mm-hmm.
We've met with your key person there who's wonderful, and
Mm-hmm.
we've already, you know, started to collaborate with some clients.
Yeah.
So these relationships are really important.
Yeah.
Because
Awesome.
I can call you and say, hey, Nick, what's going on? This
Yeah.
client, well, wait a second. We don't operate that way. We're going to make sure that they're taken care of with white gloves on.
Right, right. So this is so interesting. You guys are a consulting agency,
Yeah.
along with an
Somewhat,
immigration
yeah.
law firm, right? Okay, sorry. So now we dealt with, okay, there's brokers specific to different sectors and industries. Every business is an E2 business or could qualify. So then move it forward on who the next person is. So let's talk about, where do I go, Rocky? Where am I planting my butt when I'm there?
Well, I asked them, what do you want to do? 'Cause
I
when-
want to go to the beach. I want to be close to the beach.
So when I went, listen,
Yeah.
I was living in Bolton, Ontario.
Okay.
Do you know what the fun thing to do in Bolton is? Watch paint dry. Like, it was great place to raise little kids, but boring.
Right.
So when I moved to Florida, I said, I got 3 things I want. One, I want to be able to walk to the beach.
Yeah.
2, I need a great school for my son because
Okay.
he was 14 at the time.
Okay.
And 3, I want to be able to walk to happy hour.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
check that out. Eh?
So I ended
simple,
up,
simple, some simple.
You know, I
house.
want to. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And so that's what I got. We
Right.
bought a house 8 doors down from a beautiful Catholic private school in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
My son went to that school. Got a beautiful house, nice quiet community. And I've walked home several nights after a few drinks from happy hour without any problem.
Amazing, amazing.
You know, so
where's the
That's
where's
easy
the
to
where's the
satisfy
happy
there.
hour joint? Where's the
Oh my
happy hour
God. You know
joint?
what's funny? When I bought
What's
my
it called?
house, it was 2 Canadian guys who lived there.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, and I got along really well with them, and they were moving out. And he made me a list
Of
the
all the
best
bar-
happy hours. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's? Because I didn't get it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know how we get together here? Oh, let's go for a coffee. They don't do that.
Yeah, they
Let's
drink.
go for a drink.
Yeah. Make sure, before you move, make sure your liver is
You gotta
ready.
do
Yeah.
detox.
So so I asked them, what do you want? Like, what lifestyle do you want? Because you get to pick. It's a blank slate.
Yeah.
You know, do you have small kids? Do you want to live in a community where there's small children, nice schools? Do you want some more excitement? What's your the beautiful thing too, Nick, is price point. In the GTA,
Yeah.
if you want to spend less than $1 million, you got to go to Sudbury.
Yep.
Like, your options are very limited.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In South Florida, or even the whole state of Florida, every price point's available,
Yeah.
depending on what you want to do.
It's amazing. So you could get in for $400,000.
A brand new home,
Check that out.
Or you
Okay.
can-
Where am I going? I got $300,000.
300 grand.
Yeah.
Port St.
And-
Lucie?
Yeah, Port St. Lucie.
Okay. And
2
what's
hours north of Fort Lauderdale.
Brand new construction.
Yeah.
how many square feet?
1,800,
Yeah.
1,900.
Are we near?
square
Are we near a beach?
feet. Yep.
Yep.
We got some pools in the backyards.
For sure.
Everybody's got a pool. If you don't have a pool, it's
300
abnormal.
grand.
It's about an hour from
Check
Fort
that out.
Lauderdale.
Okay, and what's that community all about? There's some schools, there's some
Nice
shopping
community.
centers.
Yeah, it's like a suburban community.
I'm guessing a lot of new young families.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So every town or city in Florida really has a little strip
Okay.
with shops, restaurants, bars, really, right?
Yeah.
And then the beach is nearby.
Yeah.
So a lot of them, like Port St. Lucie, it's up and coming.
Okay.
Vero Beach. Yeah,
Vero
same
Beach,
thing.
Pompano Beach, where I live,
Yeah.
they're creating a whole new downtown. So there's a lot going on there. They just put in a brand new pier,
Okay.
beautiful shops, beautiful beach. So
Great place to
you
invest.
really can't go wrong.
Nice. Love that. That's amazing. And you got these properties. So one more thing on the real estate side, and then we'll push to the next. But the real estate side, a reason why you were blown away when you first went down there was because the ROI, the cash flow, the cap rate.
Right.
That over here, you're lucky if you're seeing a 3-4 cap rate. Okay, these
Yeah.
properties aren't cash flowing; they're in the deficit. You're coming out of pocket to keep them afloat. And then now we're looking at equity appreciation, and it's just not going to be there the same way it was in the last
Right.
10 years. So the economists and a lot of people are predicting. That's not the case in Florida, right? The cap rates are much different, equity appreciation, the density. So talk a little bit about that, how you can Airbnb a property or how you can scale your portfolio south of the border and have it be that there's so much, the juice is worth the squeeze down there. Whereas if
Some
here
people
it's almost
are creating
not
a business
anymore.
out of this. They're
Right.
getting their E2s on it. Okay.
Okay.
So they'll there's one thing that they're doing with Airbnb where it's not even their property that they own, for example.
Okay.
And they're having an agreement with the landlord that they're going to operate short-term rentals out of it. They form a property management company, and that's their business.
Okay.
Okay. Then there's people who are buying, affordable homes.
Yeah.
If it's close to the beach, you decorate it nicely. It looks good online. I mean, some people are living off of that.
Of
Right.
course, yeah.
So, yeah, there's tons
Beautiful.
of opportunity there, especially
Beautiful.
because it's a vacation place.
Yeah.
So you've got people coming in and
All
and
the
out
time.
all the time,
God, love that. Love that.
right? Just think of all the Canadians coming
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Just Canadians
Yeah, just
alone,
the-
not to
just
mention the rest of the world that wants to come to Florida.
Yeah.
There's a
No doubt.
website, Nick, called AirDNA.
Okay.
You literally go on there.
Yeah.
You plug in the address of the property you're interested in.
Okay.
It gathers all the information from short-term rental sites
Okay.
and tells you what type of return you should get on that property
Wow.
if you short-term rental it.
Check that out.
I mean,
Air
it's not-
DNA, guys.
yeah,
Check it out.
AirDNA.
Air DNA.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
So-
see, like even tips and tricks like that, right? Like, where do I start to buy an investment property? Okay, I'm not going there to live, but I
Right.
just want to make sure that I'm maximizing the potential of the yield that I'm making on my money, right? You got the answer for them. You got a website, check it out. This is where you could cash flow a property and it's going to be awesome for you, right? Whereas if like you can make a decision and not see 4 or 5%, or 4 or 5% less the return that you could see based on if you were to do your research and due diligence and we're pointing in the right direction.
Right.
And that adds up, right? That adds up. Like that's a big investment, right? So to have like little tips and tricks and tools and technologies that you guys even provide them with, right? To leverage and find out more about, the information they need to know more about is fantastic, right? Again, on the consulting piece, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like even with healthcare, with accounting, like you name it, Nick. If we don't know the answer to something, we'll try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Even
yeah.
with like schooling.
Yeah.
So I talk to people sometimes. They're like, okay, well, we're going to move down there when my son finishes high school.
Yeah.
Like, what grade's he in now? Grade 9. Big mistake. The state of Florida
Yeah.
has a scholarship, okay, that's available to every kid if they spend grade 11 and 12 in a Florida high school. Okay, they use the lottery winnings. And it's what they do is if you have a certain average and a certain SAT score, and I'm not talking you have to be in the top 3 percentile.
Yeah.
Every kid can achieve it. You either get 100, and it scales by quarters, 175 or 25% of all your undergraduate tuition covered by the state of Florida.
Come
it's called
on.
the Bright Future Scholarship.
Get out of here.
I didn't even know about it. My son comes home one day and he goes, Mom, I think I don't have to pay for college. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, my friends told me. I'm like, holy cow. So I look it up. Kid got a free ride.
He gets paid.
Get out of
And
here.
they pay him.
He
He
gets
gets paid.
paid.
He gets paid.
Every semester
To
they
be in a
cut him a
fraternity
check.
and have fun. Can you
Yeah.
imagine?
They cut him a
Jeez.
check for $1,200 every semester.
Get out of here.
Swear to God.
Wow, that's
So those
awesome.
things
Yeah,
are like,
yeah, yeah.
get going. Or if your kid's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
go to university in Florida, for example,
Yeah.
if he comes in after grade 12,
Yeah.
he's an out-of-state student. He's
Right.
paying triple the tuition.
Right.
If he spends 1 year, grade 12, in a Florida high school, he's an in-state student.
Yeah.
It's the regular rate. So these little things,
Make
if
a
you're
huge
trying
difference.
to pick your
That's
timing
massive.
is important. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about taxation.
My favorite.
No, I heard. I figured before the cameras come on, you already saying you're an expert in that space, right? So talk to us. Are we paying 66% down there as well,
No.
or is that only here
Oh,
that
no.
exists?
Not
Okay,
at all.
talk to us. Take us through that journey because
So-
that's big for a
Okay,
lot
I
of
just
people.
want to let everybody know I'm not a tax specialist, but
Yeah.
when it comes to dollars and cents, Rocky does her homework.
She used to always tell us, hey, you guys got to learn about tax. And she would go on and on and be like, Ma, we don't care. But now that I'm an adult, I'm like, I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So, state of Florida, state of Texas, no state income tax. So you're only subject to federal tax. So I like to use the 100K example.
Yep.
On 100,000, if you don't have any, deductions for kids or whatever, you're probably paying about 18,000 a year,
Okay.
as opposed to 46,000.
Okay.
Capital. If you own a home, you are able to write off your insurance that you pay every year on that home, your property tax, as well as the interest on your mortgage,
Okay.
on your principal residence.
Okay.
When you sell that principal residence, if it's a husband and wife, you get a $500,000 capital gain exemption every 2 years of ownership. So if you do it in house number 1, you move to another house, that 500K. Because I remember living in Canada, they're like, well, in the States, they tax you on your principal residence. They do, but it's after 500,000. So there's so many, even corporate tax. At the end of the day, guys, the money stays in your pocket, as opposed to it flowing out.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about healthcare? That's a big
That's a big
topic in
question.
taxes.
Huge.
Mhm.
So we have a healthcare guy.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
phenomenal. He owns 2 medical clinics.
Okay.
Takes care of all of our clients. So healthcare is based on your income.
Okay.
And you can pick and choose the type of coverage you like. With
Okay.
deductibles, there's a really good hospital near my home. So when I talked to him, I said, Rocki wants to go to that hospital, if something ever happens. So we made sure it was in my network. And when you start using the healthcare there, it freaks you out a little bit.
Because it's good?
It's like
Yeah.
a business.
Yeah.
It's good.
Because it's good. Imagine that, because they
They're
care.
competing for
It's
you.
service.
Fucking
So I went to the
services.
dermatologist,
Yeah.
right? I had something on my shoulder. She comes in, she gives me a gown. And I'm like, well, I don't need the gown. She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, it's like on my shoulder, She goes, oh no, the dermatologist does a full body skin scan
Wow.
every time you come in.
Check that
And
out.
I'm like, really? I've never had one of those in my whole life.
Yeah. What is that? What is that?
It's a dermatologist.
That's
who-
amazing.
Yeah, she's like, checking everything. I'm
Come
like,
on.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those are little examples, like the women.
But that's huge, because how many things, like, I know I could talk on myself personally, like, that I'm insecure about in regards to my health. Like, is there something growing there? Is there something on my skin, right? And it's just like, if you never have that full body scan or that extent that someone's going to care for you, then how are you ever going to know? And then fear comes from the unknown. So it's
Right.
like you stay in the unknown, and there's always a little bit of fear for you there. But
Are they
that's
checking
awesome that they
everything?
go to that
Yeah.
extent for
Yeah.
your
You
You should
health,
see
right?
the physicals. They're like, you're there for hours.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never had a physical like
They
that.
do
in
your
my
blood
life.
work, extensive blood work every time. Yeah, me neither.
Hormone
I was
levels,
shocked.
liver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, wow. And that's a yearly thing.
Yeah,
Right, and
yeah.
it's usually covered by insurance fully.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And there's things that we don't have in Canada that are available in the US. So my mom's 82. She had a problem with her foot. She had a little ulcer on her foot. One of our clients, Canadian doctor now working in Miami. So he comes into the office and I ask him, I show him a picture. He goes, I can take care of that.
She
I
was
said,
suffering
"How?"
with it for
It's
years.
10 years that
Yeah.
she's been suffering with it. So he goes, oh, just do. So I call a pharmacist friend of mine and he goes, we don't have that in Canada. I'm like, okay. So I ship it up to my mom and I talked to her last week. She said, it's almost gone.
Wow.
We're talking like a little tube of medication that I think it cost me $17.
Holy
So it's not like
smokes.
it's,
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're on top of their game. It's a business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they also
Absolutely,
don't want to get
yeah.
sued, Nick.
But a lot of people think,
Yeah.
right, about the taxes. They say, well, our healthcare is free. You can't be free, but is it?
No. So 36 cents. Here goes my numbers again.
Yeah.
36 cents of every tax dollar collected goes to healthcare.
Okay.
So 100K, I did the math, about $18,000 a year is going to healthcare.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, they
You don't
don't
even
take
get
care
the
of you.
service.
It's so bad. No, it's so bad. Yeah.
So
Wow. Insane. Okay.
All
And what are you doing in regards to setting them up with contractors, property managers, builders, developers? Is that a space that you're able to connect dots for them as well? Like, say they want to buy a property, it's distressed, they need someone to renovate it. You guys have that?
we haven't really gotten into that piece of
Okay.
it.
Okay.
It's just there's so much with the other stuff that we've been concentrating on.
Property
I
management?
mean, we have some local people
We have
that
some
we
people
know.
we know who are
but it's
good.
not
Okay.
really something we dive
We don't
into.
get that question a lot.
Okay. And property management?
Again, it's not something we've really been asked.
Yeah,
Okay.
because people are usually moving.
Okay. So these
like,
are a
"I'm
lot
gonna
of
be there."
residents that are going to
Yeah,
be
they're
there.
like,
So-
I'm
so-
moving there. You know,
Okay, got
I don't
it.
need
Yeah.
someone to manage. I'm
Makes
going to
sense.
manage. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so a year and a half now, the business has been open and operating. You guys are kicking butt. Can't get an appointment in with you only after the 3-week mark. Excuse me. What is it that you have planned for the future? Like, how is it that you want to grow the firm? How is it that you want to continue to grow the ecosystem and the consulting arm? Like, what do you guys see with this business 5-10 years down the road?
Rocky's going to be at the beach again.
She said she
Mena's
wants
not
a
going to
credit
let
card.
you. She's going to grab
I'll
your
let
two
her.
hands again and say, Mom,
I'm
remember when
like-
you needed to scale your business?
I'm gonna retire at some point.
Well, I guess I can answer that question since she's going to be at the beach. I'm working right now on building a Canadian team.
Okay.
So I have another attorney that I'm currently teaching who's kind of shadowing me.
Yeah.
She's going to come on next year. She's from King City.
Oh,
I
fantastic.
have a lady that works for us from Brampton. I
And
have some
she's-
Americans in
And they're
there.
all coming up down there to work
Yeah,
with you?
I'm sponsoring. I've
Wow.
been sponsoring. So I do have Americans as well. I love them too. So I got to share the love. But my goal is to become a huge resource for Canadians.
Okay.
Every day we're growing, learning what Canadians need better, tailoring our services to what they are requesting. And so 5 years down the road, I see a few attorneys working there. I see a big team, excellent customer service as always.
Okay.
Maybe putting on live events here, some type of membership-based platform that we have for to provide even more resource to them to access information and make their move easy.
Okay. That's awesome. Very cool. You're going to kick some serious butt with that.
Thank you.
And especially with everything that's going on with our government and as people get older over here as well, like seasonal depression's a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that they're starting to realize that it's all too possible, right?
Oh,
With
yeah.
people like yourself that are raising awareness for it and getting the messaging out there. And now with the social media platforms and, access to the internet, everyone can find out this information,
Yeah.
that it's not impossible to
It's
get
not.
down there.
It's
So I
easy.
think
It's easy.
Check that out.
If you have enough money or enough education and you have the right team behind you,
Yeah.
it's easy to.
Okay, so on that topic, a family of 5, let's say, family of 4, young family wants to move down there. What is that number that you would say would be a healthy number that they need to get their life started for a down payment on a home, to have a little bit of money in the account before they can, find employers, to have whatever it is they need set up there, paid for all the consulting and processes that they needed to go through to be able to get there. What does that look like? What's a good starting
Okay,
number?
so for the immigration side of it, they need probably around 100,000. Our attorney fees count towards the investment. So that
Okay.
means if you pay $10,000 for our attorney fees, you only now have to spend 90 to satisfy, or whatever that may look
Okay.
like, to satisfy the rest. In terms of setting themselves up, what do you think an average down payment would look like? She does the real estate arm of it.
Yeah, it's 20%, and then
Yep.
Nick gets you a mortgage for the rest.
Yeah.
So what does that
That's it.
figure look
so
like?
on Port St. Lucie, you're saying 60 grand on
Yeah,
a
you need 60 grand,
$300,000
some closing
property.
costs.
So 80.
You need about
total out
200,000.
at 80.
200,000 American.
200 grand.
To be comfortable.
200 grand American, and you're comfy. You
That's
got a few.
right.
You got a few.
Can you do it
bucks
for
in
a
the
little
bank
less?
account.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Okay.
Some people come to us, they're like, I don't have 100,000 to spend on a business.
Right.
Some businesses you can get away with 80, 70. The more, the less you go, the higher the risk of denial. So we always try to say, okay, don't go below 80.
Got it.
But it really depends on the person. I might tell them, hey, are you comfortable with a little bit of risk? And they'll say, yeah, I really want to make this move. I'm comfortable going a little bit lower.
Yeah.
This is what you're signing up for. I let them know ahead of time.
So this is so interesting because for a couple $100,000 American,
Mm-hmm.
where you're at 270, 280 now Canadian, you could literally change your life, right? And you
Absolutely.
can have a total different trajectory now that you're on, and you could move there tomorrow. And in the meantime, these ladies will set you up. But
right.
with that being said, do you have it that these businesses that are being purchased by the people that are going in and now are going to operate them, are they good businesses that can actually make money, or are they usually distressed and you got to inject capital into
a
them
great
and get
question.
them up and running? Or is it they'll they'll create a paycheck for me, and I'm able to pay, the couple
So-
employees that they have, and
On that front,
Yeah.
You never really know what you're buying. So it's really important to do your due diligence.
Sure.
So that's where we would come in again and help you out with that. We have a CPA that does audits.
Okay.
So you could pay him to audit the books of the business to tell
Yeah.
you yes or no.
Okay.
And then, it's really about working with the broker that you're connected with.
Yeah.
Talking to them, going there in person. That's why I tell people, if you think you can buy a business, an already existing business, and you're not going to physically be there, it's really tough.
Yeah.
Because for me, if I'm going to buy an already existing business, I want to be there. I want to see the money going into the cash register, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I'm not physically there to see that, I have a hard time trusting.
Got it.
One way that we suggest people to allow them to protect themselves in that way is to form a startup.
Okay.
So let's say you've been doing something in Canada already, you know how to do it, you're good at it. Just move that idea down to the States.
Yeah.
Some people have Canadian contracts already, or contracts in the US with their Canadian company, and they can just kind of move those over to their now US entity.
Got it. Yeah.
So the startup route, if you know what you're doing, if you've already been in business for a while, is always best. If you're, not too involved in that, or you want to kind of change, maybe you've been an employee your whole life, then maybe you go for a franchise, right? Because that's more structured, there's more guidance. Or an already existing business, and you make sure that you do the due diligence, that you're there as a visitor watching what's going on before
Right.
you buy it.
So now that's buying a business. Now we're not business owners, we're not entrepreneurs. We just want to work. We're working people. We just want a job. What does
Right.
that look like? Employment opportunity.
So this is a bit tougher.
Okay.
Okay. So usually you have to have an American company ready to hire you. Okay.
Okay.
So if you're on what's called the TN list, Canada has a special list of professions that can get a visa at the border
Okay.
with a job offer or contract.
Okay.
So let's say you're on that list. The list is available on Google. People ask me all the time, what's the list? I'm like, you could just literally look it up. It's on every single website on Google.
Okay.
If you're one of those professions, you would find a job under that exact profession where your contract will be for that exact profession, and we would help you to put that together. You could go to the border and get your visa. Usually it's a three-year term. It doesn't lead to permanent residency.
Okay.
Other than that, so this is a real wonderful visa that a lot of Canadians don't know about it. And if you research it, you'll see that the Canadians really have a higher chance of getting approved for it because there's not a lot of Canadians applying for it.
Okay.
It's called EB2 NIW.
Okay.
So EB2 is for someone who has a high level of education. Now, what do they consider high level? Bachelor's degree with at least 5 years experience.
Okay.
Or a master's degree and higher with no experience.
Okay.
Now, if this person is involved in STEM, they've had a career in STEM, for example, and they have citations, and maybe they're an author or something like that, they can do what's called a professional plan and actually apply for themselves to get their green card. If that's not the case, which it's not for a lot of people, let's take someone like myself, right? I meet the educational component. I formed a firm, a law firm in Florida. I employ Americans. What's my proposed endeavor? My proposed endeavor is something that's going to benefit the United States.
Okay.
For me, it's facilitating investment, facilitating Canadians or from anywhere in the world coming down and investing money into the U.S. economy. I can now self-petition based on that idea and get my green card that way. So a lot of Canadians have no clue about this, and you're looking at about a year and a half, you could have a green card in hand.
Wow.
With that type of visa.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It is.
Yeah,
Very
so
exciting.
it's all too possible, and you
Absolutely.
ladies are making it very, very easy for the Canadians, and I'm sure a lot of other people from other countries and places around the world too. And what is it that you guys are, working on a daily basis? Is it scaling the business right now? Is it working in the business and facilitating these introduction discovery calls? Is it building the ecosystem up with the subcontractors, or is it kind of everything all in one?
Everything all in one, I think. The thing that's at the top of our list is taking care of the people that we have.
Got it.
Once that's taken care of, she does a lot of intake,
Okay.
a lot of customer service. I do more the legal side of it. So once you're already involved in the process, I would be overseeing what's going on with your case at all times. You have a case manager. So that's most of my day goes to that, making sure everything is flowing and people are getting responses on time and everything is going well on that front. And then, we work long hours. The two of us will do a lot of that other stuff near the end of the day, or when we're just hanging out in her pool. We'll talk about
in her pool.
what can we do for this? We have an idea. Our family, the rest of the family is like, can you guys stop talking about the business? Because we're always talking about, let's do this,
It's
let's
growing,
do that,
right?
let's do this.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to make sure you take care of everybody.
100%. How many people you have working for you?
What do we have?
Now?
8 or 9.
Wow. Okay. Right on. That's
Yeah.
great, man. A year and a half?
Yeah.
We've moved 3 times.
Right
The
on.
movers know us. They're like, where are we going now?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
We had one office. We were there for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Then we moved to an office. It was big. It was
Yeah,
just
we were
her
like,
and I.
this is great. We can be here for years.
Yeah.
And then we were like, this isn't going to work.
We made it. We made it 8 months, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were on top of one another. We're
Yeah.
like, okay, it's time to. This
Yeah.
time we went bigger than we needed. 'Cause
Yeah,
in
yeah.
anticipation, so we don't have to do this again.
Nice.
Yeah. And
That's
if anyone's
awesome.
down in Florida, we're having our grand opening office party on
Okay.
June 12th.
June 12th. Okay.
So come see us.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right on. Yeah. And is there anything that you'd like for the audience to know a little bit more about you guys, or any information that you want to pass on that I kind of missed on in regards to the questions in the asking you guys of what I thought to be important?
I guess I could just say that I'm truly honored to do this work. It's really my passion, and I love all of you. When something goes a little wrong or someone misunderstands something, I take it personally, and she can tell you. She's like, you can't do that, but it's from the heart, right? So
Yeah.
everything I do is from the heart. I spend the time with people because I care about them, and I want them to have a beautiful life in their new home.
It's amazing. Very cool. That's awesome.
And what do I want everyone to know? I'm looking here.
Yeah. So that's your camera there.
Yeah. So, like Mena said, it's a pleasure. I've made so many wonderful friends through the course of helping them get to the U.S. Our goal for next summer is to have Canada Day in Florida, and we want to put together a platform where we are connecting all of the Canadians that are in the U.S. Business to business connection, business to consumer, and of course, Rocki loves to have a good time. So we want to create some social events and really bring everybody together. It's
You're awesome. Yeah.
that's what our goal is, Nick. We just want to have a great time. We want to help people and continue to, embrace that and connect with people like yourself who are doing a fabulous job in what you're doing, and just grow, have a good time. Everyone makes some money, and
That's
enjoy
awesome.
life. Yeah.
Very cool. That's
Yeah.
inspirational. I could feel the love.
You
I
could
could
feel
feel
the
the
love?
energy. I could feel it. Yeah. You guys are so soft spoken and sweet, and you can tell it's so genuine, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's why you're kicking butt, right? That
Yes, I think
that high
so.
vibration.
We feel that
You're
from you
attracting
too.
other high vibration.
I feel like you come together with people who are like-minded.
Absolutely.
We came here today, and Nick's team was fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
Yeah. They're
really
awesome.
nice, warm.
You're
welcome.
coming to visit us, aren't you?
I am. Yeah. We got me and Darylyn actually. We're
I don't
gonna
know how
make
we're
the
gonna
trip. We're gonna
top
shoot some content
that
down
beautiful
there.
basket.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to set off fireworks for you or something.
No, none of that. We actually said we wanted to get all this content put together, make sure that we had it loaded up on the calendar, and that we did a good job with it on the editing and collabing side. I even want to PR it as well with, well, maybe I'll talk about that after this. Yeah, we're still live, right? But
Right.
yeah, we'll talk about that after
Okay.
at lunch. We're having lunch together. Yeah. But yes, I'm, if anyone's out there in Florida, please make sure to go see these ladies. They're absolutely awesome, and you're going to be impressed with how much love that they put out when you're in their presence. You can definitely feel it. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of What Would It Cost. Thank you, Rocki. Thank you, Mena,
Thank
for
you
your
for
time
having us.
today
Thank
and
you.
coming all the way down from Florida. And in the short period of time that you are here, you made an afternoon available for us to sit down and talk more
Absolutely.
about what you guys do. And you guys, definitely make sure to like, subscribe. That's how we keep the show going. And tune in next week for our next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.